Hello and welcome everybody to episode number 2 of Marketing Mandems. Joined once again by Chris Battagli and Nathan Lunn. How you doing, guys?
Pretty good. How are you? How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing swell.
I'm doing good as well.
Yeah, you guys ready for episode number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, today's topic of discussion is the power of a brand. So I'm going to start off by asking you guys a question. And so how do you guys think that brands can influence our behavior?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll actually start with like a case study. So at Duke University, what they did is they set up 2 rooms, just randomly selected students, so to speak. And then what they did was they flashed cards, one of the Apple logo subliminally within the video, and then one of the IBM logo. And so they did a variety of tests. And what it showed is that the students that were flashed the Apple logo did way better on average creatively on the test. And that's because through Apple's branding, they say we are the product of choice for people that are creative. So that just goes to show you that just through, like, this isn't people who used Apple products that were like creative in any way, just through the subliminal messaging through a product's branding or a company's branding, you can actually change your state or your actions. And so that just shows that it has an effect on us.
That's wild. Yeah, no, that's crazy. They did a similar study in Cialdini's book where they were like talking about, it was actually an association study. So like you're talking about, but it was actually with, they were assigning like gender, and it was women that were actually, when they were forced to write their gender on the test that they were doing, it was a mathematics test. They actually did worse because of the stereotype. They're like, oh, men are better at math. But when they didn't have to, they weren't reminded of that on the actual test, they performed better. So yeah, totally. Wow. Associations are powerful, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%. This was a Duke study?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, brands create a compelling story that kind of aligns with a worldview or self-belief that you already have. So like if you kind of view yourself as an active or sporty type person, let's take Nike, for example, they constantly send messages that specifically align with that view. So everything Nike does kind of aligns with, we're active, we're a sporty company. So they have, athletes and all their ads, they stick with that brand messaging. Like, can you imagine if instead of athletes, they start using like singers or something, for example, like Lil Wayne, they're just like, he's starting to sport like, some athletic wear.
I buy more.
Oh yeah. I love Lil Wayne, but like, it's just like, it's on brand. Like Nike is sticking with the same story. So like people that are, athletic and sporty, like they identify with that certain brand. And the same with like Apple. It's like they're the brand for creative people. And that's kind of how they identify.
Yeah, no, we've seen, obviously you see like massive price premiums too across categories because of branding. I mean, if you look at the luxury brands like that LVMH own, like take Louis Vuitton, for example, like, I mean, outrageously expensive handbags, wallets, things like that. And people all line up for them because it's like a complete status symbol thing because of the branding. Like the wallet isn't worth $2,000, but you're going to pay it because it's LVMH, and it's like that you're using that brand to kind of leverage your own personal identity and like use it as something that's part of you. So yeah, to the first question, 100% brands can influence people's behavior.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you guys think that kind of goes along with that? Like any other way that they kind of influence? Like another thing I was kind of thinking was like they build a sense of community. So you take Apple again, for example, and some iPhone people can be like the snobbiest of all people, or at least that's how I've always thought, because I'm a Samsung guy. You get a green text message and it's like, oh, you don't have an iPhone. Like,
yeah.
Who are you?
It's funny. I have another example here is they did, I'm not sure who did this test, but they hooked people up to MRI to the brain to show like brain waves, actual, like not just how they feel, like they got the result. And so what they did is they took iPhone users and Samsung phone users, and they would show on their phone either a negative or a positive news story about each brand. and how good Apple is at branding specifically, which to me, a part of it is making an emotional relationship with the customer, with your brand or your product. So Apple iPhone users, when they would react to a negative or positive news story, the same way, like on the chart, that you would see someone react as if they knew someone personally. With Samsung users, what's super interesting is that they wouldn't react negative or positive. No, it gets even better. They wouldn't react negative or positively. But if they saw a bad news story about Apple, they would react positively. So Apple's so good at branding. Samsung, I'm not saying you personally, but on average, Samsung, when they don't choose Samsung sometimes because of how they feel about Samsung. They choose it because of how they feel about Apple negatively. But.
Yeah, no, 100%. The best brands in the world have made it part of our identity to be like, I'm a Budweiser guy. I drive a Chevy. I'm a Chevy guy. Like, obviously you guys know I'm a big like car guy. Car culture has this like so hard. Like especially North American cars, like if you're a Chevy guy, you're a Chevy guy. If you're a Ford guy, you're a Ford guy. Like if you're a Dodge guy, you're a Dodge guy. And it's like, it's part of the person's identity and you associate with the brand and the community associated with the brand. But, yeah, I can't like, yeah, no, I'd say like the biggest problem we have with like a lot of small businesses, they don't see the value in branding because it is a long road to get to that point.
Yeah.
But if you can create brand loyalty, create a community of people that identify with your brand, then I mean, man, the sky's the limit. That's where the $1 billion valuations, the $100 million valuations come from.
Yeah, 100%. So this next topic kind of bleeds into this last one, and that's more so just the full benefits of building a strong brand. And, we did kind of touch on that a little bit. But what do you guys think?
I think tying into what you said about longevity, when you're marketing or advertising without branding, if that's possible, let's say maybe you don't even have a logo on your product, it's really just to get awareness and sell that product.
Yeah.
But when you can do both at the same time. You could sell a product while branding yourself, obviously. When you brand, you're doing yourself a favor in the future for your future products if you do it well. So to me, it's more of a, like you said, a long game, and you're paying it forward to your other products. If someone sees your branding, sees your your actual individual brand, I should say, your company's brand, they buy the product, they're happy with it, they saw the marketing, they like the advertising. The next product you bring out, or the next service you bring out, or the next time you give them that service, they're going to recognize you as that brand, and it'll be a lot easier than starting from square one all over again.
So builds that loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say with a sales-driven organization is just constantly going after sales. You constantly have to kind of reinvent the messaging, reinvent the call to action, reinvent the offer. You have to it's like a birthday party and you don't know if everyone's going to come every day. Whereas when you build brand, you build a real community, then you have like this loyal following of brand advocates who are going to be excited. It's, people like me do things like this kind of thing, right? Like people who buy Lululemon do yoga or are, upward mobile females who are active, right? So brands always do a good job of creating community, and at 100%, like you were saying, it grows the longevity and it creates something intangible, right? You can't just, you can go out and buy equipment to make products. You can't just go out and just buy a brand. Not for cheap, at least. You can buy brands, but they're ridiculously expensive. Yeah. So it's creating like something for people to latch onto, something for people to identify with and make that brand part of themselves. And that's how you build. Honestly, the only way to build a really big business is branding.
I agree.
Yeah. Almost an attack on a brand can feel like an attack on yourself if someone's coming at something.
Oh, I've yelled at people about the Coke versus Pepsi thing. Yeah. I mean, so, to take it on a side note, with branding, something that we don't think about a lot, but some of the greatest branding in the world is sports teams, and the identity that people feel with their team is insane. Like people get into fist fights over if you're a fucking Bills fan versus a Ravens fan, right? Like
Gary Vee on the Jets, he turns into a different man.
Exactly.
He's ready to fight someone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a brand identity. Like you identify, I'm a Jets fan. When their team wins, they say we won. Right? That identity. Yeah. So that's like the power of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's also less sensitive to price. Like when you build a brand, like a good brand, like let's say you own the iPhone 14, I think, which is the current one. Next year, if you want a new phone, are you going to go get a Samsung, or are you're more likely to probably go get the newest iPhone? You're already so entrenched within that brand that like if the price of this iPhone 15, whatever, is like, you know, so much more than the next best phone on the market, like you're still sticking within that segment. Like you're very less sensitive to price if you have a very strong brand and that person is so entrenched already in it.
Especially if the brand is aspirational. Like we talked about the luxury brands, or, you know, look at consumables, look at alcohol brands like Hennessy, Moet, look at, you know, Ace of Spades by Jay-Z. These are massive price premiums on something that, you know, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between, you know, the average person, between a bottle of Hennessy and a bottle of whatever, like the cheaper cognac is. But there's branding, there's mystique, there's a story being told, and you want to look like you're celebrating something big, so you get those bottles. It's the same thing with the luxury watch market. I mean, Rolex, like you could go celebrate a big victory in your professional career with a solid gold Timex, but it wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same thing. You want a Rolex. It's like, I made it. I wear a Rolex now, right?
It doesn't convey the same status. Like you have a Rolex. I've always viewed that as such a status symbol. Like having a Rolex to me, because I love watches, and you know, if you make it, I've always like, oh yeah, I'm going to fucking buy a Rolex.
Get a Rollie. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily matter about the price so much. Like, obviously, it's a premium, but there are other watches out there that cost more than Rolexes. But Rolex has done well with branding to say, oh, he has a Rolex. That's a thing.
Yeah, you're buying the story and the status that come with the brand, because, you're not buying it to tell the time. Right? Like the function of the watch is telling the time, right? So I feel like sales organizations, they're always selling kind of the nuts and bolts of what they do. If they're like drilling holes in a wall, they're selling a perfectly drilled hole, whereas a good branded company is selling you the whole story about why you should use a Milwaukee drill, because, you know, it's going to be the best, and hardworking people use these tools. It's telling you a story about the type of person you are. And that's why we associate with brands, because they're aspirational.
Yeah. And to the other side of that, when you're not using branding to sell your products, to me, there's like three competitive areas. If you're not using branding, it's like security, convenience, and price. And basically, I would say like security and convenience, you can't really sell much if you're not hitting those two. Like, do they actually think they're going to get their product that they're paying for? And do they think it's going to last? Like, it's not going to break the second they use it? And then convenience, like, am I going to have to drive 40 minutes to get this? Sometimes, yes, if you're using branding and people have a relationship with your product. But then it comes down to price. And then you're just fighting to get the margins further and further down. And to me, that's not a scalable business, and that's just a stressful business. And it's not only bad for the seller, but the customer too, because eventually it's going to come down to how else do we cut costs? And usually that comes with quality.
No, exactly. And the other thing too is we see a lot of young entrepreneurs right now making a lot of money through big branded platforms. So what I mean is we see a lot of guys making a lot of money using Airbnb, using Amazon, things like that. Now here's the thing. They don't really have a business, because if those platforms don't provide them the area to actually sell those products, they have no brand. No one's going to go find them on their website, right? They didn't build anything. Yeah. They're using an arbitrage, and like kudos to them. But I'm just saying there's nothing like sellable about that business. For example, if you have a drop shipping business we're using fulfilled by Amazon, that might be fantastic right now for cash flow, but it's not really a business that you could go and sell one day. Because all it takes is Amazon switching up something, or Amazon bringing in their own stuff. If they're like, this guy's selling chairs, and we could just make our own chairs and sell them through, which Amazon's going to do to every category, slowly but surely.
Anything doing well.
It's going to cannibalize it all eventually, right? Like that's definitely Jeff's plan. So it's like, you have to, that's another reason why building brand is so valuable, because Amazon can't make shoes and go compete with Nike, and they can't make sugar water and go compete with Coke or Pepsi. So
yeah, definitely. I think another thing, very big positive in terms of building a brand, it also just helps to attract top talent. Like, you know, if someone wants to, you know, you have a job at Google or something, let's say, aside from it potentially being a high paying job, it's like, oh yeah, I work at Google. Everyone like, you know, if I've heard people like that, it's like, oh damn, like good for you. Like, I don't even know what they do.
Yeah,
like it could be the lowest level job. It's like, oh yeah, shit. You're like, you work at Google. You know, people want to work for big brands, and especially ones that they really identify with and that they like. So it's kind of a flex in its own.
No, 100%. I was actually going to say that internally, it's like a massive tool as well. But yeah, no, building a brand is it's the whole like we said before, it's like the whole long-term game to build real value is through building brand.
Yep. Definitely. I think another major thing it does is just it builds familiarity. Like if you let's say you were to close your eyes and picture walking in to a Starbucks, like what's the first thing you notice when you go in there?
Yeah, you can we can all paint like a store picture, in our mind.
Yeah, so you know exactly what to expect when you go in there. You're not going to see kids running around. You're not going to see a little like play place or whatever. Like Starbucks has a certain familiarity to it, and like you know what to expect every single time. Like you're not disappointed each time you go in there. They have a certain brand image, so like if you can build that up, it's pretty powerful on its own too.
A good exercise for this actually that I can't remember what book I got it from, but it was like if you're thinking of a brand, to identify how strong that brand is, imagine if they made a hotel, and if they're not in the hotel business, if you can easily picture what their hotel would look like, what kind of shit they'd have at the hotel, then they have a strong brand. Like, for example, we'll go back to Nike. If Nike made a hotel, you'd picture like, okay, it's got like a crazy gym. The bedrooms are like sleek. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like dark colors and like very modern.
Every kind of sports facility in that hotel.
Exactly. There's like there's like Gatorade on tap. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the vibe, right? Yeah. So if you can do that with a brand, then that's not in the hotel business, then they have a strong brand image because you can picture kind of the whole immersive experience, what it would be like.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. Our next topic, branding versus marketing. And what you should kind of focus on, at least starting out. So Donald Miller, I don't know if you guys know him. I know you do. Me and Chris are currently in a course that he does called Story Brand.
Yeah, just tell me about it.
Yeah, it's really good. Highly recommend. So he has this online university. It's called Story Brand. It's a marketing course essentially, and he kind of describes marketing versus branding as marketing is the rocket ship that takes you out of the atmosphere, and then once that kind of pops off, the capsule comes out and takes you the rest of the way. I don't even fully know the science behind rockets. I'm just quoting what he's saying. That last bit that gets you there is the branding part. So you need the marketing first. He almost said that up until you're making $250,000 a year, basically, once you get to that mark, like you should be doing 100% marketing, just marketing. So he said, don't even care about brand. And he said, once you get to that level, then 80-20 split, 80% marketing, 20% branding. And then once you get higher, then shift your focus to branding.
When he says branding, like what does he define by that? Like, did he get into like what, like how he defines the differences?
Yeah, he was talking more about branding as like the way it just makes you feel, like the colors, the images, like everything, like that it just makes you feel about the company itself. Where marketing is just actually what's driving the results. Like,
so he's kind of saying like he's kind of looking at marketing more so as like strictly like almost an advertising lens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I kind of organize it in my head is it like there is like a Venn diagram that's like heavily like overlapping because marketing is a huge factor in your branding. Like when you market, you're branding, like whether you like it or not, kind of thing. As long as you have a brand. To me, a brand is like anything that distinguishes you from everyone else, whether that be a logo, a name, you know, saying at the bottom, you know, or that you always say in your advertising. Like that's your brand. And then branding is kind of creating the relationship between customer and that brand. So the story they have in their head and how they feel when they see that, when they see the commercials, that kind of thing. And then marketing. To me, marketing is you have a market, you're selling your product. In the old days, you know, you go to the market and then you buy the product there, and that was your marketing.
Yeah.
Now we have endless amount of ways to have exposure and to sell the product online and store. It's the expansion of all that in the endless possibilities of the internet, basically. So marketing is getting your product out there, known and sold. So you can brand yourself using marketing like endlessly. You know what I mean? So it kind of interlocks, like you're doing branding as you're doing marketing. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, branding is kind of the overarching thesis of like why you're doing what you're doing. So branding's kind of this overarching influence of that will infiltrate like all aspects of the business, internal, external, right? And then marketing, to me, I like look at it like the old school kind of business book definition, like product, place, people, price, and promotion. Yeah. So promotion being advertising, people being like, who's my target market? Who am I selling this to? Price, obviously being the price and kind of value discrepancy. Place being where are we selling this thing, and product being like what's the actual offering we're creating. So those are kind of the 5 things I blanket underneath the term marketing. And then as far as branding goes, I look at it as like an overarching kind of thesis of like what you're doing, and then brand, like how people perceive the brand is kind of a whole different animal, right? Because there's how you're going to perceive your brand and the message you're trying to convey. And then it's really tailoring that and figuring out like how people actually feel about the brand, right?
Yeah.
Because
I totally agree with that. I might not have said it the right way, but that's a good way to put it.
Because if you're okay, let's say you're making handbags and you're like, okay, I want to be like a super high-end handbag maker. And you're making these handbags and you're charging a lot and you have this cool store and you have the entire vibe of, let's say, a Louis Vuitton, right? But then people buy the handbags and they break and your customer service is shit and you've just ruined the brand. People just look at you like a scammer now. Because when you go to Louis Vuitton, like my girlfriend had a Louis fucking wallet. The button chipped a little bit. We went there. This is $1,000 wallet. We went there. They were like, oh, this is damaged? I'm so sorry. Throws it out like this is going to be destroyed. Brings her a brand new one. Heat stamps her initials onto it right there on the spot. Like incredible service. And that's like the whole experience. That's them protecting the brand at every space to be like, this is a high-end luxury experience, right? So I'd say like it's making sure that the customer experience is consistent with what you're trying to convey at every level in your marketing messaging, in your in-store experiences. Everything has to be consistent with that brand image you're trying to portray.
Right. So you should know kind of what you want to be as a brand, what image you want to convey, and all your marketing should be geared exactly towards that, not straying. Like they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think in Blue Ocean Strategy, they talk about kind of making a map where you can position all your competitors in a landscape across like 2 axes. So it could be like price and perceived quality, and then price and something else. And you can start mapping out all your competitors and find kind of green spaces and then evaluate if in that green space there's actually, or rather a blue ocean in this case, if there's actually a market there, and then you can leech onto that market and really attack it, right? But because the other thing about branding is you can't take a position that's already taken. So if someone already, for example, McDonald's owns like fast food hamburgers, like that position is very much so taken. So you have to find another kind of niche or avenue if you want to be in like the fast casual hamburger game and do something different like Five Guys did, or someone who came on way later, right?
Yeah.
And so it's about owning that position in your market.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. Do we want to talk about, think of a brand, one maybe that we haven't discussed yet, and just kind of share good things or bad things about this brand, and one that you guys have that you personally connect with, or one that you just think has done a really great job.
Yeah, most underrated brand in the world right now. I'll go first because I knew you were gonna ask this, so I thought about this. Most underrated brand in the world right now is the UFC. The UFC owns mixed martial arts. They own all the fighters. They have a complete monopoly on it. No one cares about Bellator. Do you know any Bellator champions right now? No. Maybe, like, don't get me wrong, there's hardcore MMA fans who definitely know who's the champ at like all divisions of Bellator, but otherwise like 90% of people don't know and they don't care. The UFC owns that. Every other sport, they've like combat sports especially has been very like fragmented. The UFC did an incredible job of becoming like literally the only league that matters in mixed martial arts. Like it's the league, right? If you look at like kickboxing, there's like a bunch of different leagues. Boxing, and boxing's been around forever, and it's still like there's still multiple belts and different associations, right? The UFC has done an incredible job of building a very strong brand and creating a business model that just lends itself to maintaining that brand position and that dominance.
Like worldwide brand too. Like they fight in Dubai. It's not like it's just
Truly international.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can't. When you say boxing, I can't think of the first boxing. I'm not a boxing fan, but the first boxing league that comes to my head. But UFC is
UFC. Yeah. It's a shorthand. Like people don't even say like I like MMA. Like, oh, I watch UFC.
Yeah, pass me a Kleenex.
If you say, yeah, exactly. They own exactly. They're a category killer. They own the whole fucking category. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, UFC.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what a casual fan will say. Like, oh, like I watch UFC. Like, it's not like I watch. You know, if you say I watch football, we know you mean the NFL, but you don't say I watch the NFL. You say I watch football.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for a little a weirder one, but when we started talking about marketing and then we were gonna bring it up on the podcast, I started thinking about what is considered a brand, and I'm gonna go with what I think definitely not the most underrated, but Christianity. And especially with the cross. Like to me, once I took like a step back and looked at it, like you see the cross, you know exactly what it means. You know what I mean? As far as other like religions, I'm not sure, but like
bro, it's a 2,000-year run.
It's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
one of the strongest brands out there.
Yeah, people get it tattooed and you know exactly what they're about, what they believe, what they follow. They build a community. Like just the actual like symbol of the cross. If you were to look at that from a business perspective and how simple it is, how many people have it tatted on their body, obviously that's for other reasons, but the ability to brand a religion like that,
Unbelievable.
crazy.
Beautiful.
Incredible.
That was a good one. That was a good
Job
one.
well done, Jesus.
Shout out Jesus.
I'm going to go on the bit of the negative side of a brand. Have you guys seen the Balenciaga backlash that's going on right
dear God.
No.
Should I stop this recording so we can go
now?
deep on this?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe.
we might have to, unless you can wrap this in 3 minutes, we would have to roll it around.
Oh, God. Okay.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Just had to reset the DSLRs. Yeah, so Mule, you were talking about the Balenciaga scandal. Go ahead. Let's get into it.
So have you guys seen what's going on? I think you said you did.
I've heard
me.
about this. Do you not know?
Nothing.
So Balenciaga, basically, they did a holiday ad where they had kids holding like these plush teddy bear type backpacks in bondage. So there's been
The teddy bears were in bondage?
the teddy bears were in bondage.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of backlash, basically with the kids being in these ads and like having bondage on these teddy bears.
What was the attempt?
I'm not even really sure, to be honest with you.
Honestly,
I don't know what they were going for.
It's a fucking bad look. Like, if you think about the fact that, like, okay, so we have clients. If any of us came with that concept to the table for any client, we'd be like, yeah.
We wouldn't have many clients
No,
left.
it would just be a simple conversation. Be like, I don't think this is it.
Yeah.
But was it clearly bondage? Like, or was it black straps? You know what I mean? Like how
I mean, it's
promiscuous was this?
like if you see it, it gives you the BDSM fucking vibes for sure.
Yeah.
Like there's no mistaking it.
No gags though, or anything like that.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think they
Definitely
went
not.
that far.
Just just
But it looked,
and then-
man, it was definitely off. And I understand, like, whatever, it's a fucking art brand, whatever the fuck they want to say, but it's, yeah, it didn't look right. It's
No.
Yeah. So now you have like celebrities that were aligned with it, like Kim Kardashian coming out and denouncing it, and other celebrities as well. So it's just kind of a bit of a mess right now. So that's the kind of thing when you build such a strong known brand like that, and you come out with something just out of left field, like you got to be careful. Like you got to be absolutely sure. Like I don't know what was really going on with that, but
it's usually when people stray from the brand, I find that they falter, right? Like, so if you read the 23 irrefutable laws of marketing, the law of line extension kind of applies in this situation. So for example, A1 steak sauce, which is fucking A1 steak sauce, tried to make a poultry sauce. Abysmal failure. Abysmal. Because they took the
Really?
brand equity, which was pretty much shorthand for steak sauce. and they took it and tried to extend it to a poultry sauce, and it never took off.
Interesting.
Right? It's the same thing with these like so Gillette was always like the best a man can get, and then they made that whole like fucking be a man campaign, just like and it just completely strayed from like what their whole brand identity. So then people were saying, you know, like, what the fuck? Okay, here's another one. So there was a famous ad campaign for Oldsmobile. And then they made a lot of people, I can't even remember what the old one was because the new one was so bad. So all the people that bought Oldsmobiles were like older people that grew up with the brand. And then they made not your dad's Oldsmobile. That was their tagline, and they fucking lost everybody, and they went out of business.
Really?
Yeah, it was a fucking disaster. Yeah, so...
Yeah, so sometimes as a brand, I guess you just gotta know to stay in your lane with certain things. Like, don't stray too far from.
Yeah, and if you're trying to transition to a new market, don't trash your existing market. That's in order to get it.
100%. The other thing too is I think like people take a long time to build up a brand, so then I think they try to stretch the brand as much as they can. Like, oh, we can make it include this and this and this. I'm pretty sure Nike even attempted a sports drink that failed miserably as well. And that we're talking about Nike, like one of the strongest brands in the world, and it still didn't go there, right? Like,
well, you're competing with Gatorade,
Gatorade, Powerade, right?
Yeah,
which is why a lot of brands, what they'll do, and this is why if you're watching this and you're building a business, you need to build brand, because a lot of brands, what they'll do in that situation, if they want to enter that market, they will buy an established brand and then put them through the machine of Nike with all the money and resources they have and fucking kill it. But if you've built an established brand at a certain size, they'll just come and acquire you. And that's when you can have a big liquidity moment as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, like Coke, Pepsi, they own so many other brands.
Absolutely.
What's his name? The guy who does all the crazy, lives with David Goggins.
Jesse,
yeah. His coconut water brand was acquired by Coke. Like that's how, and he was like, that was like the whole game plan was like, just build this shit up and get acquired by one of them. And then that's it, right? So.
And they're buying the brand.
They're buying the brand, right? Because it's so expensive and time consuming to build brand. Yeah. So it's like if you have built a brand in a hot category and one of the big players wants to acquire you, like they'll do whatever they can to get you because you have that market there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not paying for the product. They could make that. Coke could make that like that.
Oh, Coke, Coke could figure your shit out, open up stores, do whatever it needed to do. But if you have the brand there, that's the intangible. That's the
attention.
Exactly. And that's the thing that's going to take a long time to build and a lot of energy. And so if you got it and you have a good team, acquired.
Boom.
All right, let's get into the last one. So this one is about building a personal brand. And if you guys think it's important in today's day, and can it have a positive impact or negative impact on your company brand? So whoever wants to take the reins.
Yeah, I'd say it's a good idea if it's a good idea. So it's a good idea to build a personal brand with your product if your personal brand is complementary to your business's brand, and if you know you're not going to fuck up.
That's the key.
You know what I mean? As we discussed, it's risky having a brand and branding when you take risks and you try to go for a new market. But anytime you put any kind of marketing out there, you are branding and you are taking the risk that they're going to take this positively or negatively. With a personal brand, you're taking that risk again. But if you do it well, you're compounding that brand.
Yeah, and if you do it bad, it's also multiplying.
Compound again. Yeah.
Shout out to Jared from Subway for this one because that's all you need to look at. That's all you need to look at as a guy who's like,
there you go.
And one was funny, like Subway technically just like endorsed this guy because he lost a bunch of weight eating their subs, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like Subway like really sought this guy out, and then all this shit comes out, and they're just like it, and it looks just bad on Subway, right? Like, because he was just so associated with the brand. So that's the thing, if you're like tied to the face of your brand, you need to be careful about kind of like how you identify, right? Like you can't be out there fucking doing crazy shit or doing drugs and partying if your brand's like pretty straight edge. Now, on the other hand, if your brand's like, for example, the Nelk Boys, right? Their brand is all like partying, having fun. So them having a liquor brand attached to them is perfect, right? It's the same thing with like Rick Ross with BILLIONAIRE and all these other alcohol brands that you see with like rappers and celebrities because it's part of their brand, right? But
Yeah,
it has to align.
Yeah, it might come down to which is happening first. Like if you got a personal brand, like the Nelk Boys, I'm not sure if they.
Yeah,
recently
personal
made
brand
Happy Day.
first. Personal brand first.
Yeah, hey, gotcha. Now you know kind of what your audience thinks of you by like just the videos you put out. You can take a look, and then the products kind of you can develop a product not easily, but you have a lot of the marketing info to work with to develop that product.
Yeah.
Whereas it might be a little harder with your business brand.
Yeah.
Now you have to align yourself, which is who knows who you are. Now you have to align it maybe consistently and constantly with that brand. So it maybe depends.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I think if you show yourself as an expert in the field in which your actual company brand is in, can really add value to it. But yeah, if you're doing something that's so far off and just, crazy, whatever, it can definitely detract from it. Someone that I think does a great job is Alex Hormozy. So he doesn't, his claim to fame, he doesn't sell anything. He has a company called acquisition.com. And, if you're, I don't know what he's at now, like if you're a $5 million company, whatever, doing business, he wants a stake in that company, help you to grow. But he puts out so much personal content that, trying to help young entrepreneurs grow their own businesses so that maybe one day if they do get there, it's like, oh, who helped me get there? Like Alex did. Like it's all personal content that he's putting out, and people really, get a lot of value from his stuff. So I think if you can put out a lot of value, you show that you're an expert in whatever field it is that you're doing, people can really identify with that. And then that can almost turn you into a fan of their brand and whatever. Like if you think of even Elon, for example, like I think, a lot of people buy Teslas because it's an Elon company.
Yeah.
Like if he was to sell that to someone else, it's like, oh, do they have Elon's vision, whatever it is. It's having if you're a really strong person at the helm, I think that's it's pretty impactful.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, if Elon sold it to someone else today, I wonder how much the stock would drop.
Oh, it would tank. Yeah, I think it would tank hard. Yeah, because people are buying like his kind of worldview, his like futurist view, right?
Yeah.
Also, the other thing that's funny is I think a good example of this is like Gary Vee, like kind of, my opinion, one of the ultimate like personal brands like out there right now, because he's like,
and influencer to all these new personal brands from the business world.
He honestly gave everyone the playbook. Like he had a wine brand. He has wine text. Like those are two things that he was into. Then he also has like the whole NFT fucking collection. Yeah. And these were all things that he was able to like monetize his audience after like putting in so much work. But it's because he built up like a brand about like his personal brand is about trust, entrepreneurship, like self-empowerment. Those are kind of what self-awareness. Those are all the things that he stands for. So then when he drops an NFT and you're listening like, okay, so this guy invested in Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, like all these IPO companies. He made all this money doing tech. So like this guy's obviously sees the future. He's got this whole thing. He's very trustworthy. So this isn't like a shit coin. Like maybe I'll buy this NFT, right? So I think, Gary's a great example of it. But I'd say it once again, it's a fine line. Like if Gary tomorrow, if we found out like Gary, I don't know, got fucking drunk and like punched someone in the fucking face, like he'd probably lose some clients at VaynerMedia. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Some big companies would be like, fuck you, we can't work with this guy anymore.
Yep.
And I don't think it's in his character, but like if he did, so you gotta, if you're attaching yourself heavily to your company, just be aware that whoever's going to be the face of your brand, you have to be
know
careful.
That you have a new level of responsibility with what you do as a person, not just what the company does through like calculated marketing efforts.
Yeah. Unless like I said, unless your brand is in like the crazy partying space, if your brand aligns with you being a fucking psycho, then it might work.
Then, but then on the other side, you're caught, taking it easy and saying, "Oh no pictures, please." I'm just. I was like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, can you imagine like Steve Will do it being like sober and boring? He'd be like, "What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is wrong?" Right? You know what I mean? And I'm sure he's like a normal guy most of the time, but when he like everyone wants like that guy, that's his personal brand. Time, so, no, it's Absolutely. But yeah, Balenciaga's fucked. They're done. Yeah. I think they're finished. Honestly, I don't know.
Really?
I honestly don't see how they're gonna come back from this because a lot of people are like, they're making a lot of I won't even say it because it's not YouTube safe, but the child P associations. And I just feel like the second you have a lot of people talking about that, like here's the thing. This is why, like for example, if we're talking about brands and reputation, the R allegations are the worst because if you have an R allegation, it's fucking over. Like because even if it's not true, 90% of people are just going to remember the allegation.
Yeah, it's so detrimental and so there's no ability to defend it.
No,
there's no left or right in that category.
Yeah, even if it's completely wrong. Once people hear something, that's it.
Yeah,
it's stuck.
And they don't have the time to dive into it to figure out, is this just an allegation or is this right or wrong? They just hear it. Like for me, if I never hear about it again, all I'm going to hear about is
they did that weird ad.
Exactly. They made the children all weird.
No, you know what's funny? Before these came out, like there's like a classic Balenciaga like Paris like hoodie, like $1,200, way overpriced. Once again, brand. And I was like, I was like, you know, I'm just gonna buy one of those, and I like that fucking, I don't know, I see it on a bunch of people. I'm like, I want one of those.
Oh fuck!
I will never buy that shit now. I'm like, I cannot associate with that shit because I don't want to be associated with what they just put out there, right? Like, I wouldn't want anyone to think I was supporting that.
Yeah, exactly. It's even just an awkward conversation. Like, did you hear about what they did? It's like,
yo, I feel bad for people who like, you know, just liked whatever they're making. They have a closet full and they're like, fuck, it's literally, I can't do anything with it now. Yeah, like you can't do anything. Like, I don't know, home gym clothes. Like that's it. Like,
it'll be interesting to revisit to see what it's like in the you know near and distant future if this kind of blows over or if it's going to be really damaging. So
we'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah. So. I think that's kind of it for our topics today. Unless you guys got anything else, but
no, it was a ripper. But
that was good.
We have a PDF again below. So you guys just can go to the site. You punch in your email, you get a PDF. And it's just kind of all the points we talked about today. Little dive in. Ryan worked really hard on it. So yeah, just a tool for you guys to use. And we'll see you guys soon.
See you in the next one.
Thanks for watching.